Hello and good morning and welcome back to the channel. So I'm super excited because I am finally at the point where I can finish building the base cabinets for the kitchen, and that's going to go here. That's what this whole empty zone is. And you know, I needed to fit this tall cabinet behind me first so that I could really get the tolerances and the measurements for that width. And so this is where, you know, I sketch, right? This is where I'm sketching things and reassessing, remeasuring and measuring lots of times. Now, how I came to this is, firstly, this is what's called an elevation, okay? An elevation plan, if you like, okay? So this shows what I'm actually going to build, which is 2 thin, tall cabinets separately, okay? And then I'm going to build a U shape here that's going to support the range and oven, okay? And on top of that, we'll go to the countertop. This is the tall cabinet here. Now, these measurements are determined by all sorts of things going inside them. So this is when I haven't just taken the measurements from the companies. I've gone and I've measured them. I've got the things here now. So these are where I write down the width, the height, and the depth of things. And then I'll go into the manuals for things like a stove and check if there's spaces that need to be around it for airflow, things that you have to consider for safety, for access, numerous things to consider in this particular project for me. So in here, I'm installing a pull-out sliding drawer system, okay, from a company called Slide. I'm pulling out a garbage slide by the same company. I am installing an oven and range, and I have to later on install my diesel heater and allow access to it. So all of these things I have to think about as I'm building it. Oh, and also beneath all of those are toe kick drawers. And so I have to think about the installation of those because they need to be done first, basically. Anyway, I'm going to cut out the sides today, and then I'm going to make sure that anything that needs to be installed for those pull-out toe kick drawers is installed first before I seal anything on top of it. So this is another example of thinking through the layering that happens. And this is the same for any building project, but it's so pertinent in a tiny home because the tolerances are tiny. Everything is diminished, you know, in terms of tolerances, and you have to be very careful. I almost couldn't even get this tall cabinet back in here. I made a little bit of a, well, I didn't make a boo-boo because I did get it in, but if I'd installed my ceiling, I wouldn't have got it in. So anyway, that was lucky. So anyway, this is what I'm working on. This is my elevation plan. It's got my widths, okay? I've worked out exactly the widths of the cabinets. Knowing what's going inside the cabinets, which means take off 1.5 inches for 2 sides of 3/4 inch plywood, right? All those kind of things. And then the actual sides, and this is the key. This is really what I'm cutting today, is 4 of those. If I can at least get 4 of those cut today, I'm good. Okay, so in terms of tools, I call this a big tool day because I'm working with big sheets of plywood, I'm working with the skill saw, I'm working with gloves, I'm working with big cuts, and I will also work with the jigsaw today. Okay, thanks for watching, and I will show you the construction process from here. Just a quick add-on before I start cutting. So this is a good time, you want to do a plywood cut layout. So this is my rough 4x8 plywood plan. It's for economy of your materials, but it's also, for me at least, schlepping around giant pieces of wood. So the first cuts I'm going to do, I've got 2 34-inch cross cuts here, and that's going to give me smaller pieces of wood to work with, and then I'm going to have this left over to do the other things I need to do. After that, I'll cut the 22.5-inch pieces, and there'll be a little edge strip left over. That's what I'm doing now. so I've cut the 4 big squares and then I start shaping them. So a few things I just want to show you. I've created a little 3x4 template. This is a template, and that is the toe kick cutout, right? So your feet can get underneath here, and then there'll be a drawer under here, okay? And the next piece is from my other tall cabinet template, is this angled piece here, because the wall starts to angle right here, right? So I've traced those. I'm now going to cut those out so that my sides will be done. Okay, so now I go and dry check it. Okay, I always go and keep checking inside the van. This is the template basically for the cabinets. Toe kick cutouts, and then you'll see it starts to slant up here. I am keeping all of these templates, and at some stage I'll make them available to you. And there we have them. There's 2 tall cabinets. I like to dry them in position. It's a quirk of mine. Then I know that they're fitting. I know they're drying where they're supposed to be. Hello. So I just wanted to sneak this in. So as part of the cabinet project, I am making drawers in all of the toe kicks that aren't filled with a shower or a diesel heater, right? And so I did a bunch of research and I found this cool stuff called UHMW plastic, polythene, which is just, it's pretty much a plastic slide. And I bought it in these 4" by 4" strips, which is this. And then I've simply cut it down. And let me just show you what that looks like. Didn't take you through the whole process, because you could use normal drawer slides for this, but these literally just got cut into 2" strips and then got glued and screwed to the floor. And of course I've countersunk these, right? So this is a drawer I've already created, and I just want to show you it. This stuff is called self-lubricating. UHMW, it's self-lubricating. So this is going to be under the toe click. It's going to be able to just pull out like that. It can do that thousands and thousands of times, right? So very, very cool. And of course I'll put a front on it and all that kind of thing, so it'll stay in place. But yeah, very cool stuff. So I have 3 places for that. Underneath there, underneath the left-hand cabinet, underneath the middle cabinet, and then this is going to be my diesel heater. So I just wanted to show you that. And the thing is, these things needed to be installed now, because once I've installed the cabinets on top, I'm not going to be able to get down to it to install them, right? And yet the building of these can happen anytime, right? So this is why this was interjected in the middle of the base cabinet project. Okay, great. And so now I am just attaching the range platform in between these 2 other cabinets, and here goes. The completed cabinet where I'll install the left one and the right one first, and then when they're in place I'll install this platform. on my top for the range. It is designed specifically to be flush with the top because I actually want the top part of this to sit on top of it. So there's actually a countertop when it's not being used. So that is a wrap in terms of driver's side kitchen cabinets. It's fantastic. So here's where I always do a dry fitting before I finish anything off or assume that things are how they are or that they're going to fit. So this is pretty good. Everything's in great shape. I've just put a piece of plywood on top to check alignment. And as I knew, there's something hitting the back of this left-hand cabinet just enough to stick it out 1/4 of an inch, right? So when I've dry fit it like this, it shows that really clearly, and it also is showing it here, okay? Because we want all these front fascias here to be in alignment with each other, because that's how the drawers and doors are going to line up with each other, okay? So this is great. I know where it's hitting. It's hitting somewhere right under there. So I'm going to go and fix that. So then when I actually go to fit these, and after I finish putting the faces on these and painting them, they're going to be good to fit. But otherwise, everything is perfect. This is the perfect size. All of these slides are ready to go. When I put a toe kick runner in here, I'm going to put a drawer in here, sliding drawer, and that's going to be where the diesel heater lives. That's where the dust pans live, and that is the slide out shelf. So I'm very stoked because all of the cabinets, the base cabinets, have been built, dry fitted and ready to go. So now all I have to do is sand them back, put the front face edge stripping on, which I won't show you how to do again. I've already shown you how to do that. Paint them, varnish them, and then install them. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the next little bit. And this is relatively the fun stuff. The hard stuff is done, the measuring, it fits, it's perfect. And yeah, so painting, varnishing, finishing, installing. Cabinets sanded and lined up to be varnished and painted. Feels really good. Every time I went to turn on my camera whilst I was painting the cabinets, it didn't happen. So here we have the cabinets painted, 2 coats where they need to be painted, which will be obvious when they're installed. And yeah, this is my little painting central. So I've just been painting the shower tray, which is what this is, and the hole is ready. Just putting some coats on the outside before I start doing all the waterproofing and everything else that needs to happen here on the inside before the tiles will be laid. Hey, so on installing the passenger side cabinets, this is why I always dry fit things, is when I take them in, I check things. There's always little adjustments to make. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm making some little minor adjustments. Plus, the big cabinet, the 24-inch cabinet, has to have fit in it the water heater, the loo, the self-composting loo, and the sink. So I just went and measured all of those, and I have positioned them very precisely to work around each other. And there's a whole bunch of gas and water plumbing that actually also happens in that cabinet. So there's a lot going on, and I just needed to think that through before I made any adjustments. And I'm also cutting a hole for a vent. Even though this is a ventless hot water heater, I'm still allowing a vent because I can, and these particular vents are part of my design. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing now. So that's the first adjustment that needs to happen. And by the way, if you're wondering why I had to make adjustment to that upstand, it's because when I first built these, I hadn't installed the floor. Okay, and the flooring's added about a 1/4 of an inch of height, and so it changed that just enough that I needed to make an adjustment before installing. And so that's actually ready to be dry fitted again, which is what I'm going to do now. All of my cabinets are glued and screwed. Oh Lord, it's very hot at the moment. All of my cabinets are glued and screwed together inherently within themselves. But anything I'm attaching to the actual van is screwed and not glued. Very deliberately. The reason is, if I ever needed to take something out for a repair, damage, replacement, change of design, I want to be able to just unscrew these and take them out. Wood glue is incredibly strong stuff. If you glue wood to wood with wood glue, it will rip the wood grain off before it rips the screws out, right? And so at the moment I just did this thing where these two that have been unconjoined twins have just become conjoined twins. So it's one cabinet now, but I haven't glued them. In this particular position, the thing is, it sticks out and it doesn't have a lot of things to attach to. So me attaching it to this is really critical, because that's the main thing that's going to be attached to the van. Because I've got the shower under here, I can only do downward screws in one position really for this cabinet, okay? And it's going to have weight in it. So you're always thinking how to make sure that none of this is moving. None of it's squeaking, none of it's moving, none of it's going to move forward or be ripped out if there's a hard break in your car, in your van. So always thinking about those things as you're attaching them. Just as we're finishing up here today, I don't know if you can feel this, but these are so strongly attached to the van. I mean, I'm shaking the van at the moment. And so as many installation points as you can get. This is, sometimes it's like that, sometimes it's an angle. There's various installation methods. Up here I've got about 22 things installed here. This one was interesting because it just hangs out into the open. So these two cabinets are screwed together, and then this is screwed downwards into that frame for the shower, and then this is screwed into the frame at the back, and they're screwed into each other. And so I can tell you there is not a squeak. I'm shaking the whole van at the moment. It is well and truly secured.